Good afternoon. Let's call this Board of Commissioners to order. First item is Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The next order of business is the invocation offered today by Commissioner Don Van Sickle. Don,
Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner.
Please bow your heads. Dear Lord, we are here to discuss issues that will affect people in our community. Give us the wisdom to make decisions for the benefit of your children. Help us make these decisions based on the needs of your children. Be our leader during the meeting and show us the way to true wisdom. Give us direction to common good and let us not think of our own interests. Open our eyes to viable solutions to the issues at hand and help us make our country and state great again. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Also, I'd like to take a moment of silence in honor of George Brumbaugh, who was our longtime Corporation Counsel and current member of the Retirement Commission, who passed away this week. So we'd have a moment of silence in his honor, please. Thank you. Item 4 is adoption of the agenda. I need a motion to adopt the
Romano
agenda.
adopts the agenda.
Support Van Sickle.
Any discussion on the agenda? Please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Very good. Item 5, I need a motion to approve the minutes dated April 20th, 2023.
So move, Hall.
Perna, second.
Any discussion on the minutes? Please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Okay. Item 6 is public participation. This is the first opportunity for public participation for anyone who wishes to speak in any item on today's agenda. You have 3 minutes to speak. At the end of the meeting, you have an opportunity to speak in any subject you would like. So state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes.
My name is William Pacey. I am the State Leadership Director for the organization called We the County. I'm here to speak on the Senate Bill 245 that you have up for resolution. In a time when our country, we are seeing more and more control being taken over by the federal government and by the state, I am very concerned with what I see on this board promoting this bill. I understand that there's reasons probably behind the scenes and that I am not necessarily aware of, but I was in Lansing yesterday speaking with the representatives and people, and I am very concerned that this board is surrendering more of their rights to the state. We don't need any more control at the local level than we already have by the federal and the state people. I understand that the Constitution, the state Constitution allows us to do that or gives them permission to do this type of thing, but I would ask this board to please consider not only Senate bill, but the House bill that's coming up to follow, House Bill 4536. Please consider what it's going to do, not necessarily today on this particular issue, but the old saying, once you give somebody more control, you end up giving them more and more control. So I'm not going to take any more of your time. I want my voice to be heard and speak, so please consider what I've said, and thank you very much for giving me the time.
Thank you very much, sir. Anyone else wish to be heard under public participation in any item on today's agenda? Anyone under public, one more time, anyone want to speak under public participation? Seeing that, we'll close this section of public participation. There'll be one at the end of the agenda. Item 7 are proclamations 7A through 7F. Can I have a motion to approve all of these?
So move, Hall.
Support Romano.
We're going to vote on these and then we'll present them. So please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Very good. Proclamation Commissioner Song, you have a presentation to present to the young man?
Thank you, Chair. Before I do the presentation, I just want to thank all the fellow board members for approving the AAPI Heritage Month in May, as well as the National Gun Violence Awareness, which I will be presenting on June 3rd in Roseville. So you are all welcome to join us on that day to wear orange. And with that, I'd like to present to our special guest today.
The family and the young man, please step forward to the podium.
I'm pleased to present a proclamation honoring Dylan Rex Reeves for his heroic efforts saving students while bringing a school bus to a stop in Warren. Dylan, I checked as of today, the video that was recorded has been viewed over 8 million times on Twitter, and it has been shared numerous times across social media. I'm just so proud of your heroic efforts that saved lives and property in Warren. Myself, as a parent, when I watched that, I could tell that your parents did such a wonderful job raising you. And we are so honored because too often we hear negative things in the news, and it's just really wonderful that you put Warren on the map, being a 7th grader and your bravery. So thank you for that. Thank you to Iretta and Steve, as well as Grandma Marilyn, for all that you've done to raise your son to be a hero and an inspiration to so many. So with that, I'm going to present this proclamation on behalf of the board. And Dylan, typically when we do proclamations, it's sponsored by one commissioner, but as you can see, it's been signed by several commissioners because we're all so proud of you and can't thank you enough for what you did, and being so calm too was really amazing. There you go. I'm gonna get a picture. Can we do it from over here? You guys think I could pass for a
get in
7th grader?
Maybe fifth grade.
Just gotta change my wardrobe. Oh, did you wanna get in?
Well, we just passed them all. We just doing the ones with the kids. They're the only ones that are here.
You wanna do one from the other side too, Kyle? Any of the other commissioners?
I would like to, if you don't mind.
Commissioner Nard? Did you wanna come? Sure. Commissioner Kraft? Vincicle? She's doing good. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Okay, all right, we're gonna go back here.
Is my signature on it? I said, is my signature on the resolution? Well, then take.
All right, everybody smile.
While the commissioners are going to their seats, I had the young man in front of me, and I said, by the power vested in me, I'm going to give you a driver's license. And he stopped, and he looked at me, he said, you're messing with me, right?
I just wanted to say thank you for honoring me.
Say that so loud.
It's our pleasure. It's our
Go
pleasure to
ahead.
honor you. I just wanted to say thank you for honoring me.
You're welcome.
Thank you for doing
Thank
what you
you.
did.
That's right. Thank you for doing what you did.
Short and sweet, son. That's the best thing you could do.
You could be a commissioner.
Exactly. Very good.
Thank you, everybody, so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. You guys are doing a wonderful job, so keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a nice afternoon.
She dropped something over there.
Must have been the check for $1,000.
Check.
Thank you, Ken.
Good day.
Fun stuff.
Commissioner Lucido, you want to make part of your presentation?
So I'm here to recognize May as officially Older American Month, and I'm here to present this proclamation to Mr. Thompson. He is the president of Martha T. Berry in Macomb County, which is a true gem that supports a lot of our senior citizens. This is on behalf of all of the Board of Commissioners, but myself, Commissioner Grant, Commissioner Hallcraft, and Van Sickle all would like to make sure that you have this. Perfect. Yes, we'd love to see it hanging up there. So. All right. Thank you.
Thank you for sponsoring it.
Oh, no problem.
Can I say just
Yes,
one
you
word?
sure can.
You know, someone has said it takes a village to raise a child, but it takes a village to support our senior citizens as well. And I guess I'm at the age where I am one now. But, you know, at Martha T. Berry, most of our residents are elderly. And this morning, our census is at about 93% capacity. And most of those are elderly folks. And of course, we're not the only ones who take care of the elderly in Macomb County. A lot of other agencies and advocacy groups that do as well. But thank you to Commissioner Lucido and to the rest of you for taking this initiative, because it's something that we need to keep in front of us all the time.
Then come forward to the podium, maybe one last time. Then our board wants to present you with a tribute and recognition for your 50 years of service to the county. You've sat in many meetings over your 50-year term. You watched many other people receive these as you're waiting to get your issues addressed at the board. And today, we want to present you with this resolution of all of your years of service. And we want to thank you so much for all of the many good years of service you've been to all of us. You're a trusted advisor to all of us through the many years. And when you say something, we take it to heart and know that we're getting it square, and we really appreciate you. And I can't say enough good words about you, so I won't go on too long, but here, let's come over here. Get a picture.
Whoops. Photoshop this one, right?
John, the picture's not straight.
Better do a good job, Jamie.
Have an office. Speech, you gotta say something.
I'd like to thank this board for this proclamation. And as I said before, I was grateful for your support and kindness. And all the other prior board members, they gave me so much support over the years. And I truly believe this support allowed me to be successful at my job. And I said before that I would miss each and every one of you. Well, this is day 4 of my retirement, and I definitely do miss each and every one of you. But thank you again.
Len, we need you cloned. Thank you so much.
Commissioner Brown? Can I
Yes,
say something?
Commissioner Perna?
I've known Lynn for 27 years or longer. When I was on this board, as Mr. Romano states, I was antique here, but I did ask Lynn to do another favor for us. And we'll see if she fulfills her responsibility as an ex-employee and as a consultant with no compensation. So we'll see if she follows through. Thank you, Lynn.
You get what you pay for with that one, Commissioner. Thank you. All right, number 8 is presentations. We have the Suburban Mobile Authority here, SMART, here for a presentation. There's an update on what they've been up to. We just passed the millage recently, and looking forward to continued good things from SMART. So the floor is yours. Please take it away, Tiffany.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. My name is Tiffany Gunter. I'm the Deputy General Manager and Chief Operating Officer for SMART. And a lot of you I know from my previous role at SimCog, so hello to all of you that I worked with prior when I was working with SimCog with Amy O'Leary. And I've been with SMART now since August of last year, so just before we took on the ballot initiative. And so I know that our General Manager, Dwight Farrell, came and spoke with you all about that initiative, and he talked a lot about independence in his presentation, and really lifted up the flex service that we are still in pilot form with. But I wanted to give you an update. What's taken place since then? We had overwhelming success at the ballot in November in communities, and even northern Macomb, where normally we have a little bit less support because the fixed route service isn't as robust. But we see a different narrative post-pandemic, and the way in which people commute is very different now. Fixed route is not the only way to go. And as we're looking at it from a mobility standpoint, and how do you really move people meaningfully the way they want to move in the times in which they want to move, SMART has a great opportunity to adapt services to meet those needs and that demand. So I'll just talk briefly about what we're doing organizationally. I started August, almost a year ago at SMART, and since then we have been rebuilding an entire executive team. There were a lot of changes when John Hertel was no longer with the organization. We installed a vice president of HR in October of 2022. That was last year, right?
Yes.
Thank you. It is 2023. Time's moving quickly. Also with me today is our Vice President of External Affairs, Bernard Parker, who recently began with us as well. You all know Bonnie McInerney, who is our ombudsperson for Macomb County. And we've also introduced a Vice President of Planning and Innovation, Ms. Harmony Lloyd, who has started with us almost 2 months ago now, and a Vice President of Safety, which was our Vice President of Operations. We've since shifted that position to someone else in operations and created a safety department to really put some meaningfulness behind our words, as we take seriously the safety of our operators and our mechanics. And we need a division that actually looks at that day to day and ensures that we are doing the best to ensure not only their safety, but the safety of those the passengers that we carry. So that's a very important role, and that's been taken on by Amy May. So when I say we have a young team that is still forming, it's a very young executive team, and we're really putting everyone's heads together. And I believe that the energy that they have to really do a great job and treat SMART as a transportation entity is going to shine through. Right now, we're still having a challenge. We have a hiring deficit right now in our operators and our mechanics, which I think a lot of people, you may have heard from your constituents, that oftentimes SMART buses are not running behind schedule. And because of that, we aren't taking that lightly. From day to day, we're trying to do everything that we can to improve our recruitment efforts. And so I believe, as I look back at our Vice President of External Affairs, we have not made a public announcement about this as of today, but we'll begin at the end of this week to talk about an event that we're hosting on June 13th. It's called Come Drive a Bus With Us. And I think it's so appropriate that I think his name was Young Dylan was with us today. We're asking people to come and at the M1 Concourse in Pontiac, test a vehicle. I think a lot of folks don't apply to become vehicle operators because the vehicles look intimidating to them. And so instead of allowing that to continue and to persist, we'll have our operators, our master trainers on the vehicles with folks, but they'll be driving on the M1 concourse, which a lot of people I think are just curious about and want to do anyway because it's a racetrack. But we'll have them come out, try a fixed route vehicle, try a paratransit vehicle, try one of our electric vehicles so they can get a feel for it. We'll also have our vehicles with the hoods up, and our mechanics will be there talking about what goes into becoming a mechanic for SMART. We will train people. We want to hire people locally to do this job. Right now, we're in the midst of negotiating all of our collective bargaining agreements to really look at being a more competitive employer with respect to wages. And we're also looking at some work rule changes to make our work-life balance, quality of life for our employees better. We're still working off of some of the work rules from 1980. And we just have a different set of folks coming in to work these days that don't necessarily want to do the gruesome 16 hours. They want to have some balance and some predictability in their day. So that's really what's at the table right now, is to talk about how do we create that balance without disrupting seniority. So that's about as much as I can say about that today, but we are moving forward with those. On another front, I know that in terms of that independence that we talked about, what I've just said is all the things we're doing internally so that we can provide good service on the road. But what I did pull was some of the numbers for Flex. So since last year, this time, we have doubled the number of Flex riders. We went from 2,600 riders 1 year ago to that's per month, to 4,000 riders per month. And so we are seeing those numbers climb and a lot of good usage in this Hall Road area. What we are working on now is we have about a 23-minute wait. When you call for a ride, it's about 23 minutes before people are picked up. We want to add more drivers. It's still a test environment, and so that's what we're doing. In March, we added some additional drivers to try to reduce those times. I don't have the numbers just yet on that, but we are looking at hopefully having some decreased response times in the right way, and saying that in the right way. And so what we do see, though, is our average rating from customers that have used Flex is 4.9 out of 5. So the drivers are being courteous, they're showing up as quickly as they can, they're driving safely, and they're being as helpful as they can with questions that passengers have. So we are looking to expand that. And I know that is really what most of our communities are telling us that they want, is to see that combination of fixed route and Flex working together in those zones. So we're working with a consultant right now to develop an outreach program that will begin in earnest in late June, early July. We are looking for input from all of you with respect to stakeholders that we should be talking to. You can reach out to me directly. You can reach out to Bernard. We'll share our contact information before we leave here today. And we're trying to gather information about where people are going so that we can develop zones that make sense. What we're observing now is people tend to not go outside of work. They tend not to go more than 10 miles out of their community for basic needs. And so building those zones with that in mind, we want to make sure that we're reaching the right destinations for people with respect to the origins that they are, where they're coming from, right? And so to do that, you have to do an excessive amount of public engagement. We want to start with stakeholder groups so that we can hear from businesses, from nonprofits, from hospital systems about what their needs are, and then we'll go out into the public and start talking about those locations where we believe people want to get to, basically sync up the data so that we can then know this is what would make a good zone. Get back out again, and it's an iterative process, so get back out again and say these are the zones that were designed, and get some feedback on what people agree with or where we can make adaptations. So that process is going to take a while. However, we want to start in earnest in late June, early July, so we'll get on that as soon as we can. But again, please give us information. If you have a group that you specifically want us to talk to, we'll add them to our list. A couple more things before I get out of here or take some questions today is we know that technology is the key really to mobility. We need to have the vehicles to be able to move people, but people need to know that they can do this easily. They need to be able to pick up a device of some sort, plan a trip, pay for a trip, be able to track their trip, and get about their business. And so we're moving towards that. The same company that we're working with to do the work with the stakeholder engagement is also looking at the planning side for the technology. This is a phased approach that we're doing. Our first phase is to work with the existing technology that we have to go to a cloud system. Right now, it's not a cloud-based system, it's a network-based system, and it's not as compatible with our community partners. So when we move to a cloud-based system, our community partnership programs, all those community vehicles that you see, can then connect into our communication system, which will make them much more efficient in delivering rides and communicating back and forth with us. We're looking forward to that, moving that contract forward within the next month. And then once we do that and start getting those community partners online, we'll be able to test that environment, which will just feed into the information that we have our consultant working on how to develop an app that works for fixed route, for flex, for community partners, and the like. So we're really looking at something that's going to be a one-stop shop for your transportation needs in the Southeast Michigan area. So with that, my last thing, and I just want to give you an update on, is our work along Gratiot with respect to the Signal Priority Project. You may have heard some murmurings about this over the past couple of years, but it really hasn't made much movement since then. And what we discovered in working with our partners at the Macomb County Road Commission was this hasn't moved because a decision was made at the federal level to halt movement on the signal priority. And let me back up a moment to make sure what signal priority is that when a vehicle is approaching a stoplight, a vehicle that's carrying multiple people like a bus, if it's green, it can signal and basically communicate with the light to say, stay green a little bit longer so that I can get through. Or if it's red, it can also send that signal and say, hey, I'm coming. Can you work on moving that cycle a little bit faster? Not to disrupt traffic, but so that I can continue with my motion. It really speeds up the user experience for the person using public transportation. Really what you're trying to be is competitive with the automobile. And so if you're flowing along with traffic, signal priority tends to benefit everybody on the road with that bus at the time because everyone can continue with free flow traffic. That all got put to a halt because there was some disagreement on what technology was the best technology. So Macomb invested multiple millions of dollars to get that corridor up and running for that particular technology. Our vehicles are not yet equipped with it because a decision has not yet been made. SMART's working in concert with the Macomb County Road Commission to have a conversation at the federal level so that we can continue to move forward, so that we can equip our vehicles to get moving with that technology that we know makes transit more attractive to people as an option. So with that, I will stop for my presentation and take any questions that you all have. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Tiffany, for the complete report. We appreciate you coming out and offering it, and we'll have you back out again in 6 months.
We'll be here.
Get the latest update. Next time you come, if you could give up written highlights of the summaries of some of the statistics and numbers, just as a written format so that we could share it later on, and we might want to forward the good information you've told us to our local communities.
Absolutely.
So we can spread the information out. So maybe next time is a thought to help.
We can send that, Chairman Brown, excuse me. We can send that to you following up this meeting and just give you a summary of the presentation.
What is the work on the shelters on the routes? I mean, one of the problems of being a bus rider, and that's why more people are going to the flex service, is they don't have to stand out in the rain or the snow or the cold weather. But are you guys thinking about that at all in terms of equipping any shelters or increase the number of shelters, at least on the main routes?
Absolutely. So what we're doing with respect to the stations, we have over 6,000 bus stops throughout our service area. And to get a handle around that, one of the first tasks that we've tasked our Vice President of Planning and Innovation with is doing a bus stop inventory so that we can establish shelter standards and be able to communicate those to communities. So every time we can look at the different station types, it's generally that we build up more infrastructure around areas that have more ridership. That's been the rubric that they've used thus far. So we're going to look at some different potential qualifiers for what creates that base for a shelter. We recognize that lighting can often be a problem. We want to work with communities to look at where public lighting could potentially help in terms of increasing safety and people's attractiveness for the station stop. In terms of cleaning stations, we are also working with communities to determine opportunities where we can basically pay a Department of Public Works or Public Services to continue to maintain those stations. They're already there. We have about 8 people that are covering the entire service area right now. And as we work to hire more folks that can do this work, we also know that there are individuals in each community that could potentially be doing the same work if SMART provides a fee for service, essentially. So we're looking at it from all those different perspectives of, one, we have to get our arms around all the station stops, create a standard. Having a pole in the ground with grass around it or mud around it, it doesn't say that we care about our customer, correct? And so what we want to do is make sure that, at least if nothing else, concrete pad may be the minimum. I would like to go higher than that, but we're looking at those things just like you're asking about them. We know how important it is to have a safe space for people to wait for a vehicle to arrive.
Well, it's a lot, you have a lot of work in front of you. It's a new day at Smart. You're reinventing the whole operation, and I'm glad to see that. It's one of the reasons that I got behind the initiative, the recent millage, is Smart was going in a new direction, and looking forward to seeing it continue. That's one of the reasons I brought you here today, to tell us how it's going with that new direction. Commissioner Haw.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for that report. During the discussions with the director and the assistant director, I was glad to hear you talk about the technology that you're looking to utilize, because that was a key element in the discussions we had with them. Additionally, another key element was the availability for one-stop shopping, where the individual could call that day, get a bus out there, the mini buses, get delivered to a location, and then return. What progress is being made on that attribute?
So on that front, with respect to the demand response system, that technology I'm talking about for the first phase, where we're going to cloud-based, will be the first step in trying to ensure that same day reservation ability. We're not there yet, but that is the goal, and that's what we'll be testing for, to see how effective our communications become once we're in that cloud-based system. That'll get us one step closer, and I believe get us there on getting that same day reservation moving forward.
Great. I look forward to the 6-month report, because that was a very high-level attribute, both of those that were laid out in front of the voters, and probably one of the reasons the millage passed. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
That's all I have, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Zinner.
Thank you, Chair. When the director was here last, he thought he mentioned about downsizing the buses. Do you know if that's going to be happening? Is it in the future or not?
So the effort that we're working on with Baker and Associates is the consultant that's looking at the zoning for the flex routes. What happens naturally is, as you start to put in more of that rideshare type service, the need for the fixed route begins to diminish. That's what we've seen in other areas. And so I believe, I wasn't here for the presentation, so I don't want to speak out of turn, but I believe that's what he meant when he said there's a trade-off. When you have those zones, really a lot of those zones can take the place of some existing fixed routes that really aren't performing at a level that a fixed route would. You're looking at line haul services, and that's to get people from kind of a decent distance away, several miles away, as opposed to that 10-mile space where you just want to stay in your community. So the idea, because I don't want to say it's an absolute, but the idea is, once you have more flex zones, the need for fixed routes starts to diminish a bit.
I may have missed this because you've been so detailed for us. Thank you. Are the bus loads becoming larger throughout the county, or are they staying about the same?
Right now, we're seeing that from pre-pandemic levels to now, we're about 70 to 75% of what we experienced beforehand. And a lot of that is because commuting patterns have changed so much. So what worked for that 9 to 5 coming from Mount Clemens to downtown and back, we're not seeing that as, because we have work from home so much. We have so many people telecommuting still. And that's what we're trying to get our hands around with this study that we're working on now, is to really understand where our commuters are and what their needs are.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Song.
Thank you, Chair. Where is the Smart Flex program being piloted? Can you give us specific cities, locations?
It's along Hall Road, and Bonnie, help me out with the specifics.
Basically, it goes from New Baltimore through Chesterfield and then up the Hall Road zone.
Okay, so there's nothing being piloted right now in the south end of Macomb County?
No.
Okay. I do have a constituent who has reached out to me continuously that she's had issues with the smart connector bus. She's a senior, disabled, and she lives on a cul-de-sac, and so the buses don't back up anymore. So that's a concern of hers, and I know you guys are doing a lot of hiring, which is great, but I'd really like to hear more about specifically how you're using the millage funding for other things other than personnel. So could you speak to that?
So largely, what we're doing now is revamping service. So what our expectation will be going forward is to take the work that we're doing to develop the zones and really put a lot of funding into those models. So right now, of course, we're in one zone. It's a pilot project still, so that's why we're testing and trying to figure out what the right balance is for service, the number of drivers that are needed to get to a response time. Our goal is to get to 15 minutes or better. Right now, we're at 23 minutes, and we're still trying to understand what that is. On the connector piece, with respect to backing up vehicles, without a spotter, we are not allowed to back vehicles up. So we are getting a couple of complaints about that. What we are trying to do, especially in places like dialysis centers and other places that have maybe some available parking or some capacity, moving spaces around so that the bus can make a full turn. Where it's not possible, I'm not sure what the answer is just yet. It may be an accessible van that comes as opposed to the connector vehicle, but we're looking at different ways in which we can accommodate people.
Maybe the vehicles could have a backup video monitor. So like when you're backing up, you can see.
Yeah.
That could be one option. And don't get me wrong, I'm a huge proponent of public transportation. In March, when I went to Japan, I rode the Shinkansen, which is the bullet train. And, just some quick facts, over the 50-year period, they've carried over 10 billion passengers, and they've never been late more than 24 seconds. So I know we can do it. I know we can do it.
Thank you, Commissioner
All
Song.
right, thank
I
you.
know we can.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Song. Commissioner Perna.
Yes, thank you for the presentation. A couple of minor questions. All the smart riders, do they use an app to find out where they can be picked up from, where they can be dropped off at?
I wouldn't say that all of our riders do that. There's an app available, but I don't know how well it's been adopted because it's a predictive model. And that predictive model sometimes tells you a bus is coming and it's not
If you
coming.
pick up a rider from point A and they ask you, would you please take me to point B? If it's not in a route, how do you handle that?
On a fixed route?
Right.
Well, we do not deviate from the route itself. So we'll try to, our operators, I think, are very accommodating in trying to get people as close to their destination while remaining on the route that they have to stay
Do
on.
they go out of their way for a couple blocks if weather is not in their favor?
On a fixed route, they cannot deviate from the route.
And when a transportation bus is going to be late, how do you communicate that to the rider waiting?
So there's a text option that if you're a rider, if you text a certain number, and again, I may need some support there, you guys, then it will let you know for that route when that bus is going to arrive or if it's going to be late that day or if that route is canceled.
So
for
if
the
you're
day.
going to be late to pick up somebody at point A, providing they have a phone or some
Provided they have a
communication,
phone, there's a limitation there.
that's the only way they'll notify that it's going to be late or broke down or.
And then in some of the stations, with greater infrastructure, there are real-time kiosks that will show arrival times for the vehicles. So there's not enough of those truly to get to the point that you're making about reliability and predictability. We are looking to install more of those going forward, but there just aren't enough of them today.
As the previous commissioner asked about New Baltimore, Chesterfield, Hall Road, when will you go more north or south rather?
That will all be determined by the work that we're doing with Baker and Associates. So as we begin the community engagement in June, late June, early July, we're gonna start designing those routes, going back and forth. Like I said, it'll be an iterative process, so that'll take a couple of months to design what those zones look like, and then we'll be able to through talking with you all and others, determine how we're gonna phase in those
So these
new
potential
services.
new routes would be major arteries like Van Dyke or Gratiot or Jefferson.
There would be the areas surrounding them most likely, but I don't want to speak to that too soon before we've done the work to evaluate it.
All right, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. That's Commissioner Van Sickle.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon. Good presentation, but I'd like some more information when you send to Chair Brown the information you were doing. I'd like to know how many rider miles you do per month in the different categories, long bus, short bus, electric bus, ice bus, whatever. And I'd like to know the amount of time that your buses are in service by the different vehicle types, long bus, short bus, whatever, electric, ice type things.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Yeah, it's important to expand those routes, and you're obviously going through a study. You can't just jump off and not have any preparation. So you're preparing to expand those routes by looking at those regions to expand the service of the flex system to the southern part of the county and where the ridership is in greatest need right now, right?
Absolutely.
And you said it'd be a couple of months, so in 6 months we bring you back. Hopefully we'll have made some progress there in expanding the flex route services. Going to Commissioner Kerner's questions, Commissioner Song's questions, about having the flexibility to pick people up and deviate. That's really the key for the future of the SMART, for the system. And so we're looking forward to those reports. And sounds like you're on your way, and you're going well. Any other questions for them? I need a motion to receive and file.
So move, Hoff.
Support Van Sickle.
Any
Thank you all.
discussion?
Have a wonderful day.
Please vote to receive and file.
Motion passes 12-0.
Very good. Thank you. Item 9 is appointments. Item 9A, Friend of the Court Advisory Committee, executive appointment with board concurrence. Danielle Bird, need a motion to approve.
So moved by Nard.
Support.
Support.
Any discussion on this appointment? Please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. Item 9B, Art Institute Authority Chair appointment, 1-year vacancy, Maria Salamanos. Need a motion to approve.
So moved by Nard. Support.
Any
Lucido.
discussion on this item? Please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. Item 10, Internal Services Committee recommendations. Can I have a motion to approve A through H?
So moved.
Zinner, I'm sorry. Chair, Mr. Chair. Let's try that. Mr. Chair, can I ask to have D and E placed out?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor of approving all those except item D and E, please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. Item 10D, Commissioner Zinner. I need a motion to approve 10D first.
Support Lucido.
Commissioner Zinner, do you have a question on that item?
I don't have a question.
All right, very good.
Thank you.
All right, please vote.
Motion passes 12-1. Commissioner Zinner voting no.
Okay, item 10E, I need a motion to approve.
So move Wallace.
Support.
Thank you. Please vote.
Chair,
Yes.
would you like to mention to the audience the fact that we have discussed?
Yeah, okay, all right.
Motion passes 12-1. Commissioner Zinner voting no.
Yeah, all the items on our agenda have been debated in previous committee meetings. This is a culmination of the previous work. So we discussed these at length previously, and we're making the final vote now. It's the final reading. Item 11, Health and Human Services Committee recommendations, items 11A and B. Can I have a motion to approve both of those?
Motion by Romano.
Support.
Any discussion on that item, or those two items? I don't see anybody. Please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. Government Oversight Committee recommendations, item 12A. Can I have a motion to concur?
So move, Hall.
Support Romano.
Any discussion on that item? Please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Very good. Public Service Committee recommendations. Can I have a motion to approve all the items A through
Okay.
K but we're gonna pull out items J and K separately. So all those except J and K, can I have a motion to approve?
So move, Perna.
Any discussion on those items? Please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve items J and K?
So move.
Support Zinner.
Please vote.
Motion passes 12-0 to 1. Commissioner Grote abstaining.
Thank you. Item 14, Audit and Finance and Budget Committee recommendations. Need a motion to approve A through H.
Support Nard.
Any discussion on these items? Please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. Records and Public Safety Committee recommendations, item A through U. Any motion to approve?
Motion by Romano.
Support.
Any discussion on any of these items? Seeing none, please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Item 16, resolutions, item 16A and C. Can I have a motion to approve those resolutions?
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
could we separate A, please?
yes, all right.
Yeah.
Got a motion on items B and C?
So move.
Mr. Chair, can you please explain to the audience about the resolutions? Just a simple explanation for.
Well, we got two resolutions. Item B is resolution authorizing the city of St. Clair Shores to collect 2023 winter property tax levy and the 2023 summer tax bill for all parcels with a total tax bill not to exceed $100 or less, or a total of $100 or less. And resolution C is a resolution approving a 2022 Homeland Security Grant Agreements for interlocal funding agreements for Region 2. So, can I have any more discussion on those two items?
No.
Please vote.
Motion passes 13-0.
Okay, and item 16A, I need a motion to approve resolution 2023-10425, supporting Senate Bill 245.
So moved by Nard with explanation.
I'll support.
Commissioner Nard?
I did get some information from Senator Warner. He wanted me to
apologized that he wasn't able to make it today, but he wanted to reassure, his words are, Senate Bill 245 would amend Public Act 51 of 1951 to require all vehicle registration fees collected by the Secretary of State to go to the county in which the vehicle is registered. From October 1st of 2016 through September 30th, 2017, the most recent numbers available, 106.2 million in revenue was collected in Macomb County through vehicle, passenger, commercial, trailer, and motorcycle registrations and plate transactions. That total is third among the state's 83 counties, trailing only Wayne County at 168.8 million and Oakland County at 170.8 million. No other county brought in more than 100 million. The Tri-County area makes up 39% of the state total revenue, but in the case of Macomb County, it received less than 36% of the money, or roughly 38 million. The rest of the registration plate money the rest of the registration plate money, or about 68 million, was redistributed to the rest of the state. Public Act 51 governs how state revenue for roads and bridges is allocated and spent, with some of it dedicated for state roads and others shared with local governments for their use. County governments also receive federal road funding from the Highway Trust Fund, which collects federal gasoline and diesel fuel taxes. Any local millages also add to the revenue stream, but the bulk of the revenue coming from the state comes from state gas and diesel taxes and vehicle registrations. The Macomb County Department of Roads would be a qualifying entity even if they are not called a county road commission, because that is what they are referred to in Macomb. In addition, attempts to rewrite Public Act 51 have proved difficult. Less populated counties would want to retain their share of dollars plus the redistributed funding that comes their way from other counties. Those out-of-state counties rely on redistribution of money based upon length of primary, local, and urban roads. State Bill 245 was referred to the Senate Transportation and Infrastructure Committee for consideration on March 25th, 2023. And then he sent me a copy of the bill for if anyone wants to look at it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anyone else wish to be heard on this? Commissioner Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the response from the senator, but I still think the point that I made in committee is being missed. As Commissioner Haw knows from being in Lansing, intent is irrelevant. Nothing in that bill states a Department of Roads. Everything in there says Road Commission, which is not us. And clearly throughout Michigan law, they are two separate entities. So while I agree with the intent of this bill, I fully support it. I don't think this bill affects Macomb, even though I think that's the purpose that Senator Bueno was trying to make. So I would be supportive of a resolution for this bill if the bill were to be amended to include Department of Roads. So because of that, I will be voting no based on the fact that I just don't think the bill would affect us. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Is that a friendly amendment? Would the maker of the motion support including Department of Roads as well as
Yes.
road commissions? You would include that?
Yes.
That wouldn't matter because it doesn't mention it in the Senate bill. The Senate bill would need to be amended itself, not our resolution.
Right.
To make me happy, at least. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, very good. Anybody else wish to be heard on this? I don't see any. Please vote.
Motion passes 9-4. Commissioners Kraft, Sabatini, Wallace, and Zinner voting no.
Thank you. Item 17 is correspondence and motion to receive and file 17A and B.
So moved.
Support.
Any discussion on those? Please vote.
Romano votes yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. Item 18, receive and file, items that were approved at committee that were actually approvals that are full, we gave them full board approval at the committee. This is just to receive and file them for our records. So I need a motion to approve, receive and file for both 18A and B.
So moved by Nard.
Support Zinner.
Please vote.
Oops. Well done, Ed. Romano votes yes.
Motion passes 13-0.
Thank you. Item 19 is public participation. This is an opportunity for anyone from the public to speak on any item you wish. You have 3 minutes to speak. Anybody from the public wish to be heard? Please.
Only 13. Well, there should have been 14, and that would be for 13. I know you can share.
Commissioner Purdy, you leave those there and staff will help them get those out.
Thanks. Good afternoon. I'm sure it will come to no surprise to any of you
Please
that many.
state your name for the
Oh, I'm
record.
sorry, Grace Caparuccio.
Thank you.
I'm sure it will come as no surprise to any of you that many Macomb County residents are infuriated with the current situation in our public schools. The blatant unwillingness of the Chippewa Valley School Board to even consider removing obscene books from the library is not just disgusting, but criminal. On March 16th, this board adopted resolution number 2023, I guess is the year, 10086, to support county resources to assist in school safety planning, stating that you believe that throughout Macomb County, criminal activities or potential harm directed at students has risen to a point necessary that the county shall exercise its right to perform any function or service and establish or maintain any facilities not prohibited by law which are necessary or beneficial to the public health, safety, and general welfare of the county. I agree. The CVS board is in clear violation of Michigan Penal Code 750142, guilty of furnishing disgusting books to our children under 18 that contain obscene content. So I want to know, what service is this board willing to provide to address the criminal activity and potential harm brought to Macomb County students by school boards and media clerks who furnish these books? Does this board even recognize the harm brought to students by exposing them to extreme sexual content? Study after study show exposure to sexually explicit material following: prematurely sexualize a child, incite a child to experiment with sexually explicit behavior to make sense of it, lead a child to normalize and become desensitized to high-risk behavior, shape a child's expectations in relationships, shape a child's expectations of physical appearances and certain sexual acts, blur boundaries and increase a child's risk of victimization, increase a child's health risks, i.e. sexually transmitted infections, sexual exploitation, interfere with a child's healthy sexual relationship development, and increase a child's risk of problematic sexual behavior against other children in an effort to experiment. Maybe you've heard about the first grader in Texas who was forced by other first graders to perform sex acts on them while they recorded it on their iPad. Maybe you're also not aware that the parents were made aware of this through social media. In this resolution, the board requests that the sheriff, prosecuting attorney, Macomb County Mental Health, the Juvenile Justice Center, the Departments of Emergency Management and Health and Community Services, and any other county departments deemed appropriate by the executive to have the appropriate resources work together to assist the Macomb Intermediate School District area schools in educating the student population and parents/guardians throughout Macomb County on threats of violence, and encourages the schools in the county to take advantage of the available resources.
You have 1 minute.
Sure. If not, I have a friend that might yield her time. Is that possible?
No,
No, it is not? Okay. I want to know if you will use these resources to educate students and parents on this clear threat our children face at the hands of school administrators whose job it is to protect them. Or will you stand by the laws, or will you stand by while the laws are broken and children are irreparably damaged? I have given you an excerpt from a book, All Boys Aren't Blue. The superintendent in Chippewa Valley states, this is a valuable resource for students. Read it, you'll know what I'm talking about.
I am aware that myself and parents like me are little more than annoyance to school board members who, for whatever reason, are determined to expose children to sick and deviant books. However, I'm asking this board to use your power to put a stop to this. This is not book banning. This is not a violation of anyone's rights. If you want to order these on Amazon and read it to your grandchildren, knock yourself out. The board, the Chippewa Valley Board tells us there is a challenged book review committee. It is handpicked, and even with a FOIA request, we can't find out who's on it or if it really exists.
Thank you. Your time's expired.
And they're blocking citizens' emails. I hope we can put an end to that too. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else wish to be heard under public comment? Anyone else wish to be heard?
Yes, I don't know if they've got mud on their feet or what. A lot of them want to come up here, but they're not coming. I believe they do, mud or glue, one or the other. Hi, my name is Sam Woodard. I've lived in Macomb County now for 40 years. And as you can tell, I'm not really from Macomb County, I'm from Tennessee. But I've been up here for 40 years and love the place and love the people. And I appreciate all of the work that you do to help our citizens and being able to live a more successful life here in Macomb County. I have been a part of this group that goes to Chippewa Valley schools, and it is appalling maybe 140 to 170 books have got explicit, salacious material that is just absolutely revolting. You wouldn't want to read it to anybody, and it's in the middle school, it's in the high school, and there's nothing good about it. It disobeys the law, the Michigan law, in presenting pornography to children. But as you well know, we're in a bad situation in our country. You don't need me to tell you that. I know you read the news, just like I do. But I think you'll agree that even as the fellow that wrote the book History Matters, it's the Communist Goals, Cleon Skousen wrote in 1958, he lists about 60 things that the communists have a goal for. Number 11 was promote the UN as the only hope for mankind, and its charter being rewritten is supposed to be set up as a one world government. Number 16, use technical decisions of the courts to weaken basic American institutions by claiming their activities violate civil rights. 17, get control of the schools, use them as transmission belts for socialism and current communist propaganda, soften the curriculum, get control of teachers' associations, put the party line in textbooks. Done. 20, infiltrate the press, get control of book review assignments, editorial writing, policymaking positions. Number 21, gain control of key positions in radio, TV, and motion pictures. 22, continue discrediting American culture by degrading all forms of artistic expression. 24, eliminate all laws governing obscenity by calling them censorship and a violation of free speech and free press. Number 25, break down cultural standards of morality by promoting pornography and obscenity in books, magazines, motion pictures, radio, and TV. 26, presenting homosexuality, degeneracy, and promiscuity as normal, natural, and healthy. And that's what the World Health Organization has just put out that's not a mandate, but it's a notice that they're wanting the schools all over the world to begin normalizing. 30 seconds. Wow. Okay. Well, actually, I was going to read to you Ephesians chapter 6, verses 10 through 18. I don't have time to do that. But it says, put on the whole armor of God, because if we don't, God is the only one who can change it. It's too deep. The swamp is beyond our ability to clear out. So, am I out of time? Father God, thank you so much for the privilege of us being able to be here and make decisions and talk in a sane way together. I pray that we might always have that privilege, and that, Father, our whole country would be changed from radicalism, Lord God, to conservative values that put everything back like it should be. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else under public participation wish to be heard?
Thanks for the privilege of speaking to you. My name is Dennis Gale. I've been in Macomb County since late 1970s. I'd like to make an addendum to what Pastor Sam Woodard had mentioned. President George Washington said, of all the things that lead to political prosperity, religion and morality are indispensable supports. What do we mean by the use of religion and morality here in Macomb County? There's a false doctrine if we examine the historical documents of church and state. It was a document by Thomas Jefferson to the what Baptists are they? Recall? Yeah, they were, and the context is that government is to stay out of religion, not religion out of government. If we erase religion, we erase morals. If we erase morals, we have chaos. The idea of common law seen in Article 7 of the Constitution was common to all the states prior to 1950. And there was no question about what the definition of morality was. And the source of the common law was the Ten Commandments. In the 1970s, the courts ruled that most or all the Ten Commandments must be removed from schools and all public buildings. This was a terrible mistake, because if there's not a common interest or a common standard, then there's nothing to judge by. It doesn't mean that everybody has to be a Christian. It means that for 300 court cases in American history, the civil court cited that it was Christians that primarily decided the direction of the country. It's because of that, I heard a gay professor on Michael Medved some 20 years ago said, "I don't understand my colleagues in my lifestyle, where they are destroying the foundations of America." She said, "I have no sympathy for the Christian religion. I have no idea. I don't believe in God, but I know I'm smart enough to know that the foundations have got to remain." For 247 years, we have been with the Constitution. The average length of a Constitution in most countries is 17 years. What made the difference? If you're concerned for your grandkids, we have to return to the common law. I'm concerned for mine, and I think that's one of the most common things in discussion across politics for the future of our kids.
You have 15 seconds.
And I would urge you to pay attention to Article 7 of the Constitution and take our rights as a county to resist the most recent onslaughts to morality by our governor, Gretchen Whitmer. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard?
My name is William Pacey. I'm reading this on behalf of Katie Jail, the Macomb County leader. So I'll just read it and share my 2 cents with it. First, let me say thank you for those who voted in support of Resolution R21-6564 to declare Macomb County a constitutional sanctuary county in 2021. It's truly sad that counties have to pass resolutions to protect their citizens from the state and their war on the constitutional rights. There are currently over 30 bills being passed or already passed through the Michigan State House and Senate to further restrict or eliminate our Second Amendment rights. These bills seek to eliminate our rights to protect ourselves in our churches, theaters, courthouses, banks, sports arenas, hospitals, polling places, and bars, and to tell us how we are to store our firearms in our own homes. It's not just our Second Amendment right the state seeks to trample on. In the state's ongoing effort to hunt down anyone who believes in the sanctity of life, 8 pro-life Christians were indicted for peacefully protesting outside a Sterling Heights abortion clinic. The prosecution was led by an assistant U.S. attorney out of the Eastern District of Michigan. Yes, you have affirmed your support for the Macomb County Sheriff and prosecuting attorney in the exercise of their sound judgment not to enforce unconstitutional laws. But it is clear that simply not enforcing unconstitutional law is not enough to protect us from the long arm of the state. We understand the limitations of this board, but are appealing to you to reaffirm your commitment and make known to our governor that her unlawfulness will not be tolerated in Macomb County. I look forward to supporting those of you who defend our rights any way I can, and thank you for your time. On behalf of We the County, many of you may know who we are. We're a relatively new organization in this county, about 7 months. We will be glad to walk beside you, help you in any way we can, but we've got to put teeth to some of these resolutions that you enforce. They're great resolutions, but we need some teeth to them. So I'm asking your board to sit down and say, how can we find teeth to stand against what is coming in from the state against the local citizens in the county? Thank you for your time. Oh, one more thing, since I have time. Look,
15 seconds.
we've been up here about this school thing for long enough. Please find tools. Give us the tools we need to help you fight this problem in our schools. Thank you very much. And I'll be glad to stand here after. If you want my business card, if there's a way I can communicate with you, Phil knows how to get a hold of me. So please, we'll be glad to work with you any way we can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, board members. My name is Carol Reed. I'm from East Point, Michigan. I'm backing what all these adults are saying about the kids. I was a victim of, at 7 years old, 2nd grade, pulled into a janitor's closet and French kissed. And it affected me my whole life. And that happened almost 70 years ago, and it's still affecting me. So this is affecting children. Paul Harvey said, if I was the devil, and he gives a long thing, you guys have probably all heard it. It's happening right now. We are in a battle of good against evil, and the kids are the prize. And I don't want adults, I have a 2-year-old grandson now, I don't want him experiencing this bad stuff. So I'm begging you, please intervene and try to stop the children from being compromised. There's predators out there and they're going after our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else under public participation, please?
Marlene Centeno. I have grandkids at Chippewa Valley Schools. And I'm with a bunch, there's like over 100 of us that meet at all the school board meetings regularly. And they hear us continuously over and over saying, we want these books out of the children's hands. It's not healthy. It's not good. It's not productive. I mean, I don't know why they even thought it was sane to keep those in there. But I want to give you the website. It was on that first sheet that she handed out. It's Chippewa Valley Schools at cvswatch.com. So the school board meetings are on there. You can see what's going on with the school board meetings. You can see the laws that are being broken. You can see everything on there if you're interested. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Anyone else under public participation? One last time, anyone else? Seeing no one, will close that public participation. Commissioners' comments. Commissioner Nard.
I just wanted to thank everybody that supported Senator Bueno's bill. I read the bill and I only brought it forth when especially when I found out that we collected $106 million, but of that we only roughly get 38 million of it. And there's a lot of things in the county that we use millions of dollars on, and if this is going to help with the roads, I understand maybe it's just a word or something that sounds like it may not help that, but and I hear a lot of times people say, well, you know, we've been here all this time and it never works and it's never going to go through. But if we continue to not move simply because something never has, well, now let's change it. Let's be the change that we want to see. So I bring it forth because I want to be that change. I want to change what the same old is and what always is. So it doesn't have to continue to be the same. We can change it. And by us bringing forth resolutions and we're participating and letting people up in Lansing know that we hear them and that we support what they're trying to do. And that's all I'm trying to do as a commissioner. I mean, I work in the community and I work here and I'm trying to assist with balancing the budget. But there's other things out here in this community that need to be done. And we're trying to, the road commission is always there asking us for money. And if this is going to bring money to us, to this county, instead of 68 million of the money that comes to this county going somewhere else, I'd much rather see it come here and fix our roads, especially in Warren, where I'm from, the third largest city in Michigan and the largest city in the county. I would love to see a lot of that come to Warren so we can take care of roads there. But I do thank everybody that supported, and I understand anybody that didn't support it. But I would just encourage you to read it, and if there's a word or something that needs to be changed, let's see what we can do. Go up there and talk to them and see if they can change that word. Let's not let one word block us from getting what Macomb County deserves. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Chair. Today I received notification from SEMCOG. They're putting on a webcast on Last Chance to Register Maximizing the Impact of Opiate Settlement Dollars. It's May 23rd from 1 to 2. You have to register for it, so I pass this on to Crystal for those, I don't know if we all get these notifications, to send it out to the group, since that's obviously going to be a discussion on the Public Safety Committee meeting on June 14th. So I just want to make all aware of it. Secondly, I'm sure you all heard about the absolutely disgusting stabbing of a woman at Bell Tire in Roseville. She was getting air in her tires at 6 a.m. in the morning. It's a very emotional issue for our community. Also, the individual went down and stabbed somebody in St. Clair Shores. What I really want to do is indicate my thoughts and prayers for the family. I can't think of anything more disgusting to me. This individual was from California. Nobody knows what he was doing in Michigan at this particular time. My real issue, I want to commend the cooperation of the Roseville, St. Clair Shores, Warren Sheriff's Departments, and Michigan State Police in apprehending this individual in 6 hours. Dead on the run. Nobody had a clue where he was. They've got him in custody. Our prosecutor said today that he's going to be charged with first-degree murder. Personally, that's not enough for me, but that's all the law allows. So I just wanted to congratulate our police departments on a fantastic job in getting this guy under custody. That's all I have, Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Hall. Anyone else? I don't see anybody else. We'll close public, our commissioners' comments. Need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support Zinner.
Please vote. Thank you, everyone. Have a pleasant weekend.